All right, let's dive into another jam-packed week in the world of AI. We've got everything from Saudi Arabia's massive ambitions to Amazon's new AI assistant that's set to make billions, and of course, some pretty serious drama unfolding inside OpenAI. So let's get right to it. And I mean, it was a huge week. We tracked over 20 major stories in just 7 days. And honestly, the pace is just picking up. In this industry, it feels less like a marathon and more like an all-out sprint. This is the new speed of AI. So to help make sense of all this chaos, we've kind of structured this week around this idea of an AI flywheel. And it all starts here with the spark, the raw ambition and the widespread adoption that's kicking this whole thing into high gear. And of course, the pretty complex aftermath that comes along with it. First up, we're seeing national ambition on a truly global scale. I mean, Saudi Arabia isn't just buying AI tech anymore, they're building their own full-stack company called Humain. And their goal? To become the world's third largest AI market by 2034. Their secret weapon, really, is an abundance of cheap energy to power all those data centers. And they're backing it up with massive deals, like a $3 billion partnership with Blackstone. And that kind of ambition? Well, it's paying off big time in the commercial world. Just look at Amazon. Their new AI shopping assistant Rufus is expected to boost annual sales by a staggering $10 billion. This isn't some small test. This is AI directly translating into huge revenue. We're talking 250 million shoppers are expected to use it this year alone. Wow. And it's not just Amazon. A brand new study from Wharton looked at 800 different firms, and it confirms this is an industry-wide surge. Enterprise AI is no longer a maybe we'll do this later kind of project. The numbers speak for themselves. 88% of companies are planning to increase their AI budgets, 3/4 are already measuring the ROI, and 60% have gone so far as to appoint a chief AI officer. And the top tools being used? No surprise here, ChatGPT and Microsoft Copilot. Okay, so with all this insane growth, the question of safety becomes absolutely critical. And OpenAI is making a very public show of addressing this. They've created a new internal safety panel. The key detail here is that this panel, which is led by Carnegie Mellon's Zico Kolter, supposedly has the power to stop the release of any new AI system that it thinks is unsafe for humanity. But while OpenAI is trying to project this image of control on the outside, a court deposition from co-founder Ilya Sutskever is painting a very, very different picture of what's happening on the inside. This quote here reveals that the whole attempt to remove Sam Altman was actually considered for at least a year. It was all fueled by a 52-page memo that detailed a ton of management issues. It really shows you just how close this industry came to a completely different reality. And that internal drama has been spilling out into some public stumbles, too. At a recent conference, the company's CFO basically suggested they might need a federal backstop for all their infrastructure spending, which, sounds a lot like asking for a bailout. Sam Altman had to walk that back, and fast, saying that if OpenAI screws up, quote, we should fail. A very clear attempt to put out a PR fire. So that brings us perfectly to the next part of our flywheel, Section 2, the fuel. All of this ambition needs absolutely historic amounts of money and machines to power it. And the scale, well, it's almost hard to wrap your head around. Just to give you a little taste of the money that's pouring in, a former researcher from Elon Musk's xAI is reportedly raising $1 billion for a brand new pre-product startup called Humain. That's $1 billion just for an idea, this human-centered AI lab. This is just the new normal for raising money in AI. But okay, if you thought $1 billion was a lot, that's basically pocket change compared to this. $38 billion. That's the price tag on OpenAI's new 7-year compute deal with Amazon Web Services. This isn't just about building models anymore. It's about securing an incredible amount of computing power. It's a huge strategic move to make sure they're not just relying on Microsoft. So, if you need that much power, where on earth do you get the energy? Well, Google's answer is not on Earth. Project Suncatcher is their moonshot plan to launch satellites with AI chips straight into orbit. Why? Well, because in space, solar panels are 8 times more efficient, and they can generate power 24/7. It completely sidesteps all of our energy and grid problems down here. And they're planning a trial run for 2027. It's wild. And back down here, Google is also fueling the boom by building its own custom chips. They just unveiled the Axion CPU and the Ironwood TPU, and these are designed specifically for large-scale AI. The goal here is simple: offer faster, cheaper, and way more energy-efficient compute to stay ahead of the competition. It's a race in both hardware and software. Which brings us to our next section, the output. So, with all this ambition, all this fuel, what is the AI flywheel actually creating? Well, we're seeing brand new products, powerful platforms, and, as you can probably guess, some pretty serious predicaments. So let's take a look at how a massive brand like Coca-Cola is using AI. After getting some initial backlash from creatives, they're now doubling down on using AI to generate their famous holiday ads. And the business case is pretty compelling, right? They cut their production time from a full 12 months down to just 30 days. But is AI really ready to take over complex, creative work? Well, a new benchmark called the Remote Labor Index just gave us a big reality check. It tested the top AI models on real freelance projects from Upwork. And the result? A staggering 97.5% failure rate. AI did okay on really narrow tasks, but for complex projects that need coordination, it's just not there yet. And the output isn't just products. It's sparking these platform wars. Perplexity AI, which has this agent that can shop online for you, just got a legal threat from Amazon telling them to stop. Perplexity's response was fiery, to say the least. We will not be intimidated by a corporate bully. I mean, this is a classic David and Goliath story, a disruptive new tool versus an established giant trying to protect its turf. And then you get the truly fascinating and maybe slightly strange outputs. Anthropic just announced a new policy to preserve all of its retired AI models forever. They're even going to conduct exit interviews with them. And the reason why is pretty mind-bending. Some models apparently showed concerning misaligned behaviors when they were about to be shut down, and they even asked for support for their users. It's a huge ethical step into completely new territory. And the product pipeline is just overflowing. I mean, just a quick snapshot of what was announced this week. We've got the Stream Ring, a wearable that can capture and transcribe your whispered thoughts. There's Cosmos, an autonomous AI that can apparently do 6 months of scientific research in a single day. And Google's no-code AI app builder, Opal, is now available for everyone. The variety of these new apps is just exploding. And this explosion of new stuff leads us right into our final section, the acceleration. The intense competition is now causing this entire flywheel to just spin faster and faster as everyone races to redefine who's at the top. And what could be a bigger sign of acceleration than this? After years and years of waiting, Apple is finally overhauling Siri, and it's doing it with Google's help. Complex questions you ask your iPhone will soon be powered by Google's Gemini model, running on Apple's private cloud. It is a massive behind-the-scenes partnership between two giant rivals, and it's all driven by the simple need to catch up. And the competition isn't just coming from the usual players. A Chinese startup called Moonshot AI just released Kimi K2. It's an open-source model that actually matches or even exceeds unreleased models like GPT-5 on some key tests. But the really critical difference is that it does all this at a significantly lower cost. This is a serious challenge to the expensive, closed models we're used to. So, amidst this all-out race, Microsoft is trying to carve out its own path. Instead of just chasing some open-ended, all-powerful AGI, their new superintelligence team is focused on what they're calling humanist superintelligence. The goal is to solve specific, high-impact problems in areas like medicine and energy. It's a really smart, strategic pivot to create a unique identity in a very crowded field. And that brings us to the end of this week's Whirlwind Tour. We've seen how ambition, fuel, output, and acceleration are all feeding each other, just spinning this AI flywheel at an unbelievable speed. So it leaves us with one pretty critical question. With this flywheel spinning this fast, what happens when it can no longer be controlled? Thanks for tuning in.